Hi there. Thanks very much for asking me here again, and good to read also again with the poet laureate of the Yukon. And so now I'm just going to begin by saying there once was a poet called Parkin who wished he could be Philip Larkin. But when Larkin dropped dead, this Parkin guy said, "I'm glad that I'm Parkin, not Larkin." Now, that little limerick came to me some years ago, and I was thinking about death, actually, and I suddenly had this funny idea of Philip Larkin dying. But I want to read you a poem which goes right back to World War II, when my wife Francoise and I were little kids, and we were saved from the bombing and the distress by being sent away from home into the countryside, both of us. But my eldest brother was in the Royal Air Force, and he was trained over here in Canada. And then he went back to the UK, and his skipper, or Skip, the pilot of his bomber, was a Canadian pilot. My brother was a navigator, and they had a New Zealand gunner and another one who was a bomb aimer. Anyway, they all went down and never came back. And so I imagine one of their exchanges as they were going up over Germany. When we were in the RAF, and I was later, the first thing we had to do before we went abroad or went into action was to make a will. And so there were all these 18-year-old boys making wills. And so this poem called Aircrew, it begins with, "What's in your regulation will?" The usual, pocket watch and gold-nibbed pen. I left some Columbias with Mez and Biggs. Oh yeah, me. I left my parlophones and those old Betty Smiths, you know. Skip: "Smith, are you a big butter and egg man?" Smith: "Only when you take us for a buggy ride." Jim: "There should be coast ahead and river mouth, some sleet." Skip: "Way down the river, they call it Basin Street." Caught in the pincer of two searchlights, we know the next thing will be fire. Skip corkscrews down so sharp, our new tail gunner just throws up. But now we're back in the friendly dark and climbing, oh so slow, to level off and drop what's left so we can climb yet more, hoping for Godspeed home. And Jimmy will sleep in his own little bed again. So that last line of the poem comes from a song of the period, which was on the radio all the time. Jimmy will sleep in his own little bed.